now. Would you look at this place? This place is incredible. Having a little bit of money is really cool, because then you can get a replica set of Sunnydale made up. That's cool. They also give you a new hairdo, but I don't know if it's any good, but it's new, so that's fine. I also got a new time slot, Thursdays now, because apparently Wednesdays are not performing very well. But okay, that's fine. You know, just that's cool. The studio's trying to help, right? They're just looking out for the best of me. Anyways, seeing as how this is Buffy Month, I really want to talk about the Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the board game, and see if it's worth it.
No, we suggest the TV show.
Okay, the students made another great suggestion. They said that I should do Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show, and see if that's worth it. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was released in 1996 and ran for 7 seasons, the first 5 of which were on one network and the next 2 were on another. Because of this, part 1 of this review will be on the first 5 seasons. So, in a nutshell, Buffy, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, is a new sophomore student at Sunnydale High. She knows that she is the Slayer already, and that she will probably have to protect whatever area she is in, you know, killing demons and slaying vampires. She makes fast friends with Giles, played by Anthony Head, who is her watcher, basically a guide and trainer. She then makes some friends her own age with Xander and Willow, played by Alison Hannigan. You may recognize her from How I Met Your Mother, which I also did a review on. See, past Lytane? I said I would do a Buffy review one day, and here it is. They all become friends and fight the terrors of the night, which include demons and of course vampires. While Buffy is the most capable member, each person offers some help, with Xander mostly being the comic relief. Each season as well has a big bad that is the focus for the heroes. The first season has the Master, an ancient and very evil vampire that is trying to kill the Slayer in order to open the Hellmouth, which is a very magical and dangerous area which draws bad guys in, and just so happens to be located underneath the school. There are highs and lows, victories and defeats, trust and betrayal, love triangles and hugs, as we see Buffy slay way too many vampires. Now, Buffy is a fairly grand show with numerous seasons, 7 to be exact, and as such, it's going to be way too hard to talk about every single season, every single episode, and every single thing that happens in these shows. This episode will just go on for literally forever, and I do not want that. So instead, I'm going to be talking a bit more broadly about the show, and in that same vein, there will be spoilers for this show because I'm just going to be picking things randomly out of my head. I'll try and keep some of the big plot points, you know, a mystery like the final bad guys fights and all that kinds of stuff, but there will be a lot of general spoilers about the show, so if you haven't watched it, you probably should go out there and check it out first. Let's go with the characters, starting with the person that's in the title, Buffy. She is a strong and capable character. She has flaws, to be sure, and those flaws are changed every season depending on what's going on around her, but she grows and she continues to grow as the show goes on. She is incredibly strong, mostly due to the fact that she has those Slayer abilities, but she is strong-willed as well, which you don't get from being a Slayer, you get from a character. Sarah Michelle Gellar does an amazing job handling Buffy, where she has this cute, fun side at times, and then she's really serious at other times, and she kicks ass pretty much all of the time. She is such a strong female character, and she really drives the show. The whole thing was about her, and she does the best job that she possibly can in this role. Her friends make her both stronger and weaker. Sure, she can kick butt and do all that kinds of stuff, and friends just get in the way and get kidnapped a lot of the time, but they also help out immensely throughout the show. Because of this, it is shown that even though Buffy is the Slayer and she is fairly amazing, she can't do it all on her own. She needs help and she needs friends, and she realizes that most of the time. There is some drama every now and then, but these characters help support her and make her shine. They don't detract from what she is, and they don't detract from who she is either. She is unique in her role, and each other character fits a specific point in their role as well, in order to keep the focus on Buffy so she's not undermined by every other character in the show. Most of the females in the show are fairly strong as well, like Willow. She starts off as this cute, innocent little nerd, but she is very good at studying, and she's very good at computers at the start of the show, and she eventually learns how to do magic, making her invaluable to the team with all of her expertise. Now, where the female characters are incredibly strong, the male characters are mostly a mixed bag. Giles is a strong character. He is extremely smart and capable, and he's trying his hardest to keep Buffy alive and thinks of her as like a daughter pretty much. He is incredibly knowledgeable, and he is mostly the one that is figuring out what the demon is and how to kill it and how to get Buffy to do it. Because of this, he is not a fighter. You don't get to see him fight all that often, and whenever you do, it's pretty cool. But he is the brain of the operation. This doesn't undermine Buffy, once again, because this is a trait that helps her in her endeavor. Then we have Xander, who's just a normal dude. He doesn't have any special powers or abilities. He becomes a carpenter, so he knows how to fix some walls and stuff, which is handy, but honestly, he's not incredibly useful to the team. This is a very stark contrast because he is just a normal person. He doesn't have powers, and so therefore he can't fight the creatures of the night very well. Most of the times that he comes up against a vampire or a demon, he gets his butt kicked, and he does become a little bit more competent as the show goes on, but that does take a while. Because of this stark contrast between what Buffy is and what Xander is, you could see that a normal human just doesn't have what it takes in order to fight the fight, and that the Slayer is incredibly important. Because Buffy has so much ease and control over her powers, and that she can take down most of these bad guys fairly easily, then you come up with somebody like Xander, who is fairly buff and, he's capable, but he can't do it. It adds a nice dynamic to the show, something that the Buffy movie was really, really lacking. Then we have Angel, a very broody and troubled man that just so happens to be a vampire. But I should put an asterisk next to this because he also has a soul. This makes him the only good vampire, as he regrets all the evil he has ever done in the show and before the show even started. He is probably the most capable character in the show as well, with knowledge and skill, but he doesn't undermine Buffy like Pike does in the Buffy movie. Instead, he complements her. Angel is a vampire, and as such, he has the same weaknesses as them. Sunlight and the bloodthirst especially. He is only smart because he has lived so long, only strong because of the monster within him, and he and Buffy hit it off because they are both chosen into a life that they didn't want. But Angel is a vampire, so it makes sense that he can hold his own with Buffy. By making Xander that really weak human, it shows that you do have to be something special to be on par with Buffy, but as she proves throughout the show, she is stronger than Angel in most ways. And although she may be stronger than Angel, she does eventually fall for him. Over the course of the show, Buffy has a few flings and stuff, but she has 3 main boyfriends. The first of which is Angel, this dark and brooding man, and she can't help but fall in love with him because he's mysterious and a little bit dangerous, and it's great. They are soulmates. But one little problem about Angel's soul is that it was a curse put upon him in order for him to realize all the evil acts that he had done. Because of this, if he was to ever become truly happy, he would lose his soul and become the monster that he once was. One Night of Passion with Buffy does just this. Over the years, pretty much every single character turns evil at one point or another for a single episode in order to do some bad guy stuff and drama and all that kind of good stuff. But the one where Angel turns bad is probably the most intense one of the entire series. Because he was such an integral part to the show and to every one of the characters, when he turns evil, it is a big betrayal. And it doesn't last just one episode, it lasts several. You get to experience all of the evil that he once was before he got the soul, and he directs it towards the Slayer and her friends. Because he knows every intimate detail about her and about everybody else, he can do so many twisted things, and he does. This is a big shock to the audience because we've come to grow and love the character, and he was a big fan favorite as well, and then he just turns evil. It's so so crazy and it happens so fast. There's no build up to it, there's nothing like that. It just is wham, and it happens. Because of this, it is really, really bad, and it's really, really sad, and eventually this causes Angel to become more broody and more sad, and eventually he gets his soul back, but he can never forgive what he did when he lost it for that brief time, and as such, he does eventually leave the show at the end of Season 3 in order to star in his own one, but I'll talk about that later. As the show is serialized, everything that happens has real weight. The characters grow and become imperfect due to the trauma that they have endured. Now from here, Buffy meets Riley, who is pretty much the opposite of Angel. He is happy, charismatic, doesn't brood at all, and he's like optimistic. And Buffy just doesn't know how to handle that. He is a normal man and he is actually good for her. He loves her for who she is, but she can't love him due to the baggage that she has with Angel. It honestly takes a long time for her to start to overcome that kind of stuff in the show. Now, I really like Riley in Season 4 because he was capable but never became too much as to undermine Buffy. That is, until they completely changed his character in Season 5. I hated this change. It is all done to add drama into the show, as it honestly felt like they forced this change upon him. It was not organic at all. Now, he is jealous of Buffy and wants to be just as strong with her, even though for a whole season he didn't care that he was weaker than her, and now he starts doing stupid things like drugs and experiments and being bitten by vampires just to be her equal. This causes a lot of fights and drama between the two, and she treats him like a dog before he finally leaves. Now, he did deserve what happened, but I also felt like it was so out of character for him, and I think they only did this in order to make the show interesting. The last main relationship Buffy has is with Spike. Now, he is a very strange character and he is a breakout star of the show. He was only supposed to be in one episode, maybe a couple, but the people liked him so much that they kept bringing him back for more, and he's mostly a bad guy for the first times that you see him, until we get to Season 4. In that season, the Initiative, the company that Riley works for, puts a chip into his head, making it unable for him to hurt any humans. That means he can't feed and he can't do anything about it. But he does learn that he can hurt demons. So instead of just like doing whatever he wants and dying or whatever Spike wants to do, he instead joins up with the Buffy team because he's like, well, I can hurt vampires and all that kind of stuff, so why not help you guys out? But he does it for money. He's still a selfish dick. The other reason why he helps out is that he's starting to get some kind of feelings toward Buffy because he's just becoming obsessed with her, but that will be talked about a little bit more in the part 2 of this, where Season 6 and 7, because that's where the main relationship does blossom. Now, as you can see, every single relationship that Buffy has changes her and grows her as a character, for better and for worse. So much so that I think I should sing about it. Every single night, the same arrangement.
No songs. We suggest talking. That's what the audience wants.
Okay, I guess I'm not singing about it. Sorry, studio, for having that idea. I guess we just move on to the next point. All of the characters in the show go through just as much growth over the course of it, but talking about them all will just be absolutely crazy. But that's something so grand about this show, how it evolves over time. The first season is fairly light and introduces you to the world. Season 2 is a little bit darker, but not so bad. Season 3 has a lot more darkness and new characters like Faith, who, as a side note, I was absolutely in love with as a young adult, don't judge me. Then the end of that season is crazy and massive, and it's just one of the most fun that the show had. Then with Seasons 4 and 5, they both have a lot more weight to them. As the characters mature, so do the stories on the show. Now, you might be thinking that this show is really, really serious with all the trauma and drama that I've been talking about, but actually, it's quite funny. Most of the show has a lot of slapstick, a lot of wacky situations, and the dialogue especially is incredibly well written. There are as many pop culture references, other people started referencing Buffy, there is a crazy amount of jokes and one-liners and little puns and stuff like that throughout the entire show. It is so well written, and it was just Joss being Joss. He just was given free reins with the script, and therefore he could do whatever he wanted. Oh, not whatever he wanted. The studio did get involved every now and then, but honestly, a lot of the dialogue was his own, so he could just go and do and make all the funny things that he wanted. One of the more crazy ideas of the show was an episode called Hush, where a demon takes away the ability for the characters to talk. So half of the episode is done in mime. There are no voices as the demon has stolen them, so about the 20-minute mark we don't hear anybody speaking until the end of the episode. As Joss kept getting praise for his writing and witty dialogue, he did this as a challenge to himself, and it is so creative and handled so well, and is one of the more unique episodes in perhaps all of television. Can you think of another show that has half an episode where no one says a single line of dialogue? Because I honestly can't. Even though the show had lots of creativity, most of the episodes and bad guys were grounded in a sense of reality. Joss would frequently come up with an allegory to growing up and base a monster or story around that. Like for instance, Willow and Tara becoming a couple, which wasn't meant to happen. Joss liked their chemistry on the show so much that he pulled them aside and said that they will get together. He then used magic as a way to show them falling for each other and discovering new things. All of this flew over the studio's heads, by the way, until it was too late and they couldn't stop it. Haha, studio, Joss got one up on you. So when it came time for the first kiss, the studio said, no, you're not allowed to do that. But Joss threatened to walk out, so they reluctantly let him do it. Even the arc of Faith being a broken girl, latching onto Buffy and then becoming a maniac has a sense of realism to it. Many people have that one reckless friend, but the difference here is superpowers pretty much. But you can still get behind the character and you can understand that character's motivations for most of the episodes. But the show does have a few faults. Not every episode is amazing. A lot of them are just monster of the week episodes and have no bearing to the overall plot, so some of those just feel slow and boring. Some of them are also quite fun, but most of them are just like, oh, this is okay, but I want to get into something a little bit better. Also, not all the characters are hits. I personally don't like Drusilla because she's a bit weird. She's all like, oh, I have visions sometimes, but I don't really know what's going on. Spike, can you just make out with me or something? I don't get it. She keeps popping up as well, and she's not a character that I particularly liked. There's also Cordelia, which in the first season is just a bitchy, mean girl, the ones, there's plenty of them, and she's not terribly original. She does have a lot of growth throughout the show, and she does eventually leave at the end of season 3, I believe, but the very first times you meet her, gosh, she is annoying, and I guess that's the point. You're supposed to not like her, you're supposed to like the other characters. So, but while she does grow as a character, and I find that I like her a lot more in seasons 2 and 3, there is something major that happens that is quite annoying. She gets into a relationship with Xander, and it is a toxic relationship. They're constantly bickering, they're constantly insulting each other, but then they're having sex, so I guess it must be okay, right? But everyone around them and all the people that watching this can see that it is a toxic relationship. Sure, there are moments where they're both really sweet and honest and amazing with each other, but most of the time, it isn't. And then the way that the breakup is handled is so poor, and I really hate Xander for what he did. And then of course everybody treats Cordelia like crap, because when, friends break up, you have to pick a side. It is incredibly bad and really oddly written as well. It does show a real life thing, because a lot of people know these kinds of relationships. Some people may even be in them, but it's just not something that I wanted to see, and I don't think it was handled incredibly well. One of the biggest faults of the show, in my opinion, comes with season 5. One word: Dawn. That's enough said. I'm just gonna leave now.
No leaving. We suggest you review season 5 now.
I don't want to talk about season 5 though. I don't like it.
You will, or else this deal is over.
Okay, fine, I'll do it. Gosh. Dawn is Buffy's younger sister that literally gets retconned into the show. She isn't in the first 4 seasons at all. And then next thing you know, everybody knows her and she's in the episode. It is plot related why she's there, and you aren't meant to understand what's going on, and you're supposed to distrust her and feel shock as well. Now, I don't really know why Dawn was added into the show. It may be a studio thing where they wanted to have a younger character to get that demographic or something like that, even though the show is a bit more mature. I honestly don't know, and I don't want to put things out there in the universe, but maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But what I do know is that Dawn is a brat, and she treats Buffy like crap. She is shallow and can't do anything right either, getting into trouble herself and causing trouble for our heroes. I hate everything about her. Okay, well, except the actress. I don't mind Michelle Trachtenberg or something like that. She's got a funny last name. I don't know how to pronounce it. But I hate everything else about her. Even when Buffy and the gang were just a bit older than her age at the start of the show, they were more mature and capable, which is why I hate her even more. If anything, she's grown up with this longer, so she should be able to cope and do well, but she just can't, and this is so frustrating. This leads to one of the more emotional season finales of the entire show run, but at the same time, it's also a little bit annoying of why it had to happen, so it's a mixed bag for me. See, I told you there was so much to talk about, and I barely scratched the surface here. I don't feel like I've talked about enough in general. Oh, it's so hard, but I don't want this episode to go on for too much longer. So I'm just going to focus on one specific episode, and with that, it's going to become a lot of spoilers. So I would suggest if you ever want to watch this show that you do not watch this spoiler section, and instead you skip ahead to the time that's on the screen now, because it'll ruin one of the better episodes of the entire show. I'm of course talking about the episode called The Body. In the series up until this point, Joyce has been a recurring side character in the show. She is Buffy's mum and eventually pretty much becomes mum to the entire group. She also has a little bit of a fling with Giles, which is really cute. Because she is a single mother, she does have some flaws, and she does have a teenager that has Slayer powers, so she doesn't know how to handle Buffy a lot of the time, but you can see where she's coming from, a place of love and a place of trying to keep her daughter safe, so you can't really fault her a lot about what she does. You just really get to know her and you just really like her. At least I did. At one point she finds out that Buffy is a Slayer, and she says, "Have you tried not being the Slayer?" You know, it's like an allegory to being gay or something. You know, Joss Whedon just likes to write about, you know, real life stuff using monsters and magic, so that's fun. But anyways, aside from that one little weird thing, she's a fairly fun character and honestly a fan favorite. And so when she wanted to leave the show, they made sure she left the show. So in the episode prior to The Body, Buffy comes home to find her mum on the couch, cold, lifeless, and staring at the ceiling. The Body is the episode where Buffy has to deal with this. There is so much normalcy to it as it captures what really happens in the world when a loved one dies. Joyce dies of a brain aneurysm, something normal, not supernatural, and Buffy could have done absolutely nothing to stop it. From there, the episode is intense as Buffy has to deal with the grief and the trauma of losing her mother. Honestly, this is one of the best episodes of any TV show that I perhaps have ever seen. It is so real, raw, and honest. Buffy can't cope. Willow has a meltdown trying to pick out the right outfit. Xander has moments of rage and gets a parking ticket while dealing with this death. Life goes on outside of this disaster. But it's Anya, a demon turned human that is dating Xander, that really breaks my heart. Her monologue is so sincere, as she doesn't really understand human emotions well and what is going on. It is something to... it's just something to see. I don't think death has been handled this well in a show before or since. Oh, actually, BoJack Horseman with the Free Churro episode. Wow, I'm gonna have to talk about that one day. Still, here there is no music in the episode. There are long shots and only 4 locations in the whole episode in order to make the audience feel stuck with this grief as they have to deal with the death just like all the characters on screen. So there's much more to say about this show, but I'm gonna have to put a stop here, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail in part 2 of this.
No part 2.
What do you mean I can't do a part 2?
No, we suggest that...
You know what? Screw you. If you won't give me full creative control, then I'll just go to another studio where I can do whatever I want, okay? Because I'm sure another one will take me on now that I'm so famous. So screw your studio, screw your hair even. You know, like, I don't need it. I'm out of here. Barely scratch the surface. I've become Sean Connery. So there's plenty to see in this show. Just give her a little slap.